Welcome to Virtual Coffee with Dawn Rickabaugh, the Note Queen, where we talk about owner financing and notes. Financial solutions, one mom and pop to another.
But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to, October. No, it's not October yet. It's September's Virtual Coffee, anything having to do with owner financing and notes. My name is Dawn Rickabaugh, and I'm your host this morning, and I do these coffee calls because I really believe that, not only are our notes and real estate investments in general good for, building wealth long term, but also when you figure out that discounted market for notes, it really opens up a whole lot of additional opportunities for you to create solutions. And the more problems you solve for other people, the more money you tend to make, and it's more fun. And so just super quick, I was going to, if I can share my screen before we get started, I'm going to just bring up a PowerPoint presentation that I do just to give a little bit of context for people who probably maybe haven't heard this part. I don't know. I do a bunch of snippets of different things. But let me move, I don't know how to move that out of the way. Anyway, so the idea here is like when you have property, paper, and cash. And most people know how to turn cash into property, right? That's not too hard. You take money in the bank, you open escrow, you buy a property, and voila, you've turned your real estate into cash. So we've got cash, we've got real estate, and we've got notes, right? So property and paper. And the whole point to me is for people, what I find meaning and why I keep doing this is because I want to empower more people to do in their communities what I'm doing in mine. So, because then we're all doing better. We're sending less money up the food chain to the wealth vampires in Washington and Wall Street, right? So we're doing good for our communities and for our families. So basically, the idea is to take cash and turn it into property. Like I said, most people know how to do that. And then a few people go even further and say, yeah, I know I've done owner financing, or I'm willing to do owner financing. And for those of you who own property that want to get in the note business, the quickest way for you to get in the note business is to take a property you already own and carry paper on it. You turn that property ownership into being the lender on that same, secured by that same house that you already know. So now you don't own the property, you own the paper. You're the note holder, and instead of receiving rent payments, you're receiving interest payments. And you don't have taxes, insurance, or maintenance, right? And the not too many people know how to do that or are comfortable with it, but even less, here's where we get stuck. Here's where most real estate investors get stuck. Once they have that paper and that how to turn that note back into cash if they ever need to get liquid again, right? So that's really the crux of it. So you've got to be able to go around the circle forwards and backwards. What's backwards? Okay, backwards is you take cash and you buy a note. Okay, a lot of times it's at a discount, or you lend money. This could be a private lender. Also, that's the second easiest way for you to get in the note business is to be a private lender, because there's a lot of opportunity for private lending. So you can, if you've got cash that you want to invest, go find a hard money broker in your neighborhood who's got a good reputation and whose underwriting is sensible to you, right? So then you turn your cash into paper. And what happens if the people don't pay? Well, then you foreclose just like the bank does when they don't get paid. So then you turn that paper into property, and then you either turn that property back into paper by owner carrying to somebody else, or you sell that property, voila, to get back to cash. And so that's kind of the theoretical framework that I'm working with, and why I love this, and why we're doing this conference starting a week from tomorrow. Gosh, and is just so that we get comfortable going forward and backward around this circle. So that's why it's so important. It's so important. So that's why the whole discounted note business to me is so important for people to have a basic grasp of, because it completes the equation for creating solutions, getting liquid, really creating more of what you want, and then intentionally setting up that paper so that if you need to get liquid, you're taking a small discount to get out instead of a big discount, right? So anyway, just eyes wide open there. So I'm just going to exit out of that. So that is just a little fun thing for now. Plus chickens, right? Chickens. I think that's a funny video. All right. So now here's my screen that I'm sharing. And so most of you that are on this call or listening probably already know my website, notequeen.com. Most likely you have already signed up for a Note Queen account. So for those who haven't, I just want to show you what's there. And one thing I just added this morning that I've been meaning to, but if you create a Note Queen account, it doesn't cost anything except your email address. And all I basically do with that is invite you to these virtual coffees and then to the summit every year. But here's where I've aggregated all of my free content. And so a lot of people will email me asking me questions, but it's already here. So almost, and you need to spend a little time. Obviously, I can't answer a lot of emails where people just could spend a little of their own time and find out. But transaction reviews, fantastic. Note appraisal course is a nice little mini introduction to notes. And then I'm just bringing your attention, well, down here is the Property and Paper Summit, so you can tune into past events there. But this links to resources. I just updated this morning with this guy. When you carry paper, make sure you're Dodd-Frank compliant. So if you're a mom and pop or a small company that's creating a lot of paper, you buy a property and then you sell with owner financing. Well, it's a really good idea for you to have your own underwriting department, to have an NMLS licensed person that will check the ability to pay, so that number one, let's just go to his site. So I think it's great when you can. So people ask me all the time, how do I find a mortgage broker that's going to underwrite and be willing to do my owner carry paper? And I think this guy, I actually don't know him personally and never worked with him, but he's the only guy I know of right this second that's providing this niche service to owner carry people across the country. So I would just say get compliant. Here is calltheunderwriter.com. And like I said, if you want to find more links to resources that can be useful in our industry, just go to that links to resources on my page. But I like how he's doing this all over the country, and he's just providing a great, so this should be something that you tag and put in your own, virtual Rolodex here. Protect the asset, reduce default, increase no value. Yeah, because increasingly, especially if you're doing more than, 2 or 3 a year, whoever's buying your note is going to want to know that you did good underwriting on this, that you stayed Dodd-Frank compliant, because the downside of not having a good note is that if it gets contested and it looks like you didn't do what you should have, the courts can do something as draconian as say, okay, fine. Not only do they, I may be a little bit wrong on this, but it's something like, okay, they don't owe you the money, and beyond that, you might owe them damages that could be even double what that was, whatever their down payment was, or triple. I'm not really sure. But it's really, it doesn't cost that much money to get somebody who is in your town who's willing, a mortgage broker, or just check out this guy. So there's my little commercial and something to help out. And then lastly, going to training on my site, live events. Obviously, we are coming down the wire just a few days away from the annual Property and Paper Summit. This is my third time of doing it, and it just seems to be a really special and fun venue. And every year, it sort of reveals itself to be a different, sort of thing. And I usually don't even know how it's going to come together every year. But like a lovely surprise, Mike Rasica, his wife and his son are coming in from the East Coast to be with us. Really super, when I have to spend money, and I would gladly spend money to go listen to these speakers, and they're spending their own money to come be at my event, it's really a special time. So if anyone has been on the fence, I'm technically at max capacity of the room, which is only supposed to hold 50 people, but I'm gonna oversell just a little bit, so I will take up to 5 more people, just because sometimes there's a couple people, whatever, or they're not there the whole time. So I've noticed in the last, even though I've technically sold out of capacity, that we could fit a few more people in the room. So Mike's coming out. Gordon Moss is going to be here. He's a very good speaker, very articulate, very fun to listen to. And I'm also going to his 2-day event. After my event, I'm going to follow him to Las Vegas and do his two-day event, because there's a lot of things. If you're not staying current and connecting with people, you can lose it, right? There's a lot of opportunity. I think he's going to be talking a lot on subject to deals and wraps and things like that, where I'm personally interested in adding that to my portfolio. So I'm going to go learn from Gordon. We also have Tom Henderson coming in, and I'm picking him up Friday from the airport, like at 11 in the morning, and putting him up in one of my Airbnb rentals. So I'm really excited to have him come in. Juice, he's just a perfect veteran of the industry. I just love guys like this. Little old guys from Texas are the ones that, taught me the business and gave me my set of values, and why what gave me the legacy of what I want to leave and give back. So anyway, and then Sherry Hill, she's always great without asset protection. Sorry, that's super loud, because it's a super windy day up here in Washoe Valley. Abby Shema, she's one of the premier note brokers in the country, I would dare to say. So he's bringing that side of the business that is just invaluable to round out our understanding. David Kurtzman, just like he's been a real estate broker and an investor for years, and just super solid guy. Just, you can't, and nobody's selling a big thing. It's just like, this is the community that we build. It's really, at the end of the day, a really small community, the note business. And then this guy is new. I actually met him from Sacramento. I went to speak at his club, and I didn't actually know this at the beginning because I live under a rock, I guess. But anyway, he was a stand-up comedian for quite a while. Traveled around with Robin Williams, but for a time. And so he's promised that he can get us out of the lunchtime doldrums on Monday. So he's gonna get us going on Monday. But he's turned entrepreneur and a real estate investor. So anyway, just a quick thing to say: we only got 7 days left to go, and I'm willing to sell up to 5 more tickets, even though we are technically at capacity. So anyway, just bringing that to you there. And okay, all right, Axel. Is there anything now before I bring up my trusty calculator? Anyone that's chatted in anything?
We just had someone email a question
Okay.
regarding service resource for servicing.
Mm-hmm.
So you were kind of going through that on your resource page.
Right. So people just need to create a login and go to the links to resources there on the Note Queen site, and then they'll have that plus other resources, I think, that are useful. And if anyone says, hey, you forgot this, I really like this, I would love to add it to the site, because this is just, it's kind of, it's all free. So what's the point of it? It's like, what do they call that when everyone can add to the code? Open source. It's sort of open source, and just so if you think of something that I can add here that would be helpful to other people in the business, I would love to just email Axel at and tell him, and we'll add it to the site. So, because yeah, there's several different servicers, and in each locale, in each state, there's several servicers that are just licensed and they do it in their state, or title companies or escrow companies. Banks even sometimes do private servicing, but national companies that are licensed everywhere. There's probably more than what I have in there, but it's just a starting place. And it's kind of like, I have to say that I love servicing and it's a really good idea, but I've had frustrations with each and every servicer I've ever used. So like, just expect that it's not always going to be like a 5-star experience, no matter what. But it's affordable and it's a good thing to do, and just have realistic expectations going in and find out who you can live with and who you can't. So just word to the wise there. I don't love any of my services, I'm sorry to say. Even myself, I don't love always doing some of my stuff myself, but I'm increasingly getting away, especially if it's owner occupied paper, owner carry paper. I don't like servicing. It's just not worth the risk and the headache and stuff like that. And plus, if you can get boarded with someone who reports to the credit agencies, then you set up your borrowers to improve their credit and to be able to refi if that's your goal, to have them refi as soon as possible. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you want that long-term cash flow. So, anything else?
Susan Vanderberg, when she registered, she'd like to know how to find those opportunities to invest in small notes.
Okay, Susan. Okay, I'm looking for opportunities to invest in small notes and for people to carry notes. So, Susan, can you get it to a place where we can chat together? I mean, can we hear you?
Oh, hi. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Dawn, for taking my question.
Oh, thank you for showing up to this little coffee chat. So where are you drinking your coffee from? Wow, that sun's good.
I'm currently in Menifee, California.
You're where?
I'm in
California?
Menifee, California. Yep.
Okay.
Southern California.
All right. So then just tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll just try to hit your questions and see what
Well, I've been in real estate for about 13 years as an agent, and I'm no longer an agent, but I've always invested in real estate in some aspect of buy and hold, and maybe buy and sell, and buy, rehab, and sell. But I tend to hold. In the past few years, I've been passive with the investments, and I've only been investing in REITs. So now I'm trying to get back into being more active. Recently, I've started up a self-directed IRA, and a slight dilemma because I was investing in REITs with my self-directed IRA, and that REIT is close to more investors, so that they're not taking any more investments. So I have some funds that I'd like to place into something else, preferably a note. That's why I had that question about a small note. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Do you have you done notes before?
No, I have not. I mean, I know a lot about it, but I just haven't done one for myself. Gotcha.
Okay. So so number one, I'm just going to go through the ways of note. So how do I become a note investor? So there's 3 main ways, and the easiest one for most people that's right in front of them And sometimes they go, I want to sell this property so I can invest in notes. And I go, well, why don't you carry paper on that property? And then voila, you're a note investor. You're receiving payments on a note, right? So that's the easy one, finding a hard money lender, but usually they need a little, quite a bit of capital, depending on what part of the country you're being a private lender in. If you do seconds, just realize that that can be smaller dollar, but second position notes, last time there was a downturn in the market, a lot of them took a pretty stiff beating, especially in the West out here, where the property values tend to go up and down a lot more, have a lot more volatility. But some people, as long as you're okay with the amount of risk, are okay doing small seconds. The third way, and what I've done, I guess 70% of my portfolio, or note portfolio anyway, is buying discounted notes from other people. So, and if you can do that, if you can find that, but it's a business, right? So either you work through a broker, someone who's like me or Abby or somebody, right? You got to find people who have deal flow, because finding deal flow in any business is what it takes 2 to 5 years for most businesses to get going. And the reason is because it takes time to be the rainmaker and find them and be educated. And once you find them, how do you negotiate it? And how do you underwrite it? How do you know if it's a good deal or not? So there's a lot of moving pieces with that. And have you heard of Walter, the Walter and Quincy and the Financial Friends Network? Have you come across them?
No, I have not.
Okay, so I'm going to see if I can pull this up, because
Okay.
Small, what you're talking, small deal IRA investing, Walter Wofford, because he is exactly talking about this stuff. I don't know. Join Jim and Walter, walterwofford.com. Okay, you got to hook up with this guy. They're over. This is a new site. That is super fun. Yes. Okay. So walterwofford.com. So go over there and hook up with him. Actually, I need to put this in my links to resources. Walter stepped it up with his website here. He just sent me a super funny video from Croatia. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, I'm going to be actually, so from 2012 to 2017, I probably went on almost every cruise, and I've been back to Jackson, Mississippi, where he's from, to take several courses. So he's this Financial Friends that Quincy and Walter have created are my financial peers, my financial family, investing family, and I've learned a lot from them and had a lot of fun. So I would suggest that you connect there. So yeah,
thank you. Awesome.
Yeah, so he I think at least 2 or 3 times a year, right there in Jackson, Mississippi, he holds events that are just called small dollar investments with your IRA, note investments with your IRA. Exactly that. So great. I'm really glad you brought that up. That's going to be a super great connection. And he's a super good guy and funny. He makes me laugh just when he says my name, Dawn. He's got that southern drawl, So all he has to do is say my name, Dawn. Is this Dawn? And then I start laughing. That's maybe because I'm too easily entertained. Who knows? Okay, so anyway, a lot of times too, that can be small notes can also be found, but on like mobile homes. But then you have to go, okay, I just have to realize that if I don't have a lot of money, that the collateral that's securing my investment is not going to be a single family house in, Orange County. He's the smaller amount of money. And if you're in first position, you're just going to take on a little more risk sometimes if it's a mobile home in a park, or you'll just have to know that, hey, if I only have $25,000 to invest, then, and I want to be in first position, then probably, most likely, the value of the collateral securing that note's going to be about 50,000, right? So a 50,000 house somewhere, depending on where it is either decent or it's not the greatest for whatever reason. So you just have to realize that. So if you're like, no, I want to have a paper in Southern California, well, then you probably have to be willing to accept a 5% yield, 5-6% yield, I think. There's a lot of competition for A paper in hot markets and really stable markets. So anyway, does that help at all? Or do you have any more questions or clarifications?
Yes, that helps a lot. I actually also want to know if somebody could carry a note for me, because I was looking at investing, hopefully getting into a multifamily property somewhere in California or outside of California.
So you mean, will someone lend you money, not carry a note for you? Or you're looking for an owner, you're looking for a seller who will carry for you, right?
No, well, I'm looking for somebody who will actually hold the note, the promissory note. So essentially being the lender, but I don't want to go through the bank.
Right. So my first choice for who can lend me money is the seller of the property that I want to buy. Because generally I can get if I have to go to my private money partners, I'm going to pay 7, 8, 9, 10% depending. Okay. But I have gotten several times. I've gotten anywhere from 3 to 5% money. I pay from 3% to 5% on my money. And I know people that get 0% financing. So whether I'm going to flip the property or carry it long term, I always think of the seller of the property as being my lender. And when that doesn't work, then I go to other solutions, right? But the more cash I need or the more expensive my capital, the lower the price I can pay for the property and still make it work as an investment, because I'm not a retail buyer of notes or properties. Right? Does that make sense? So you go find what you want. And I think the sweet spot, did you say multifamily?
Yes, that's the preference. But then my secondary is I would like to get a home in Ventura that I could I would use once a month, So I think that would still be considered investment. Either way, I want something. Soon.
Okay, so what you're looking for, to me, and there may be some other ideas that I'm not thinking of, but you got to go. The multifamily is, I think, in that 5 to 10 units. And last I understood is that between 5 and 10 units, there's less traditional financing or institutional financing available. Once you get over 10 units, the properties themselves are, there's more financing for larger units, and then 1 to 4s, but that 5 to 10, so you have a much better chance of getting financing, owner carry on those sorts of sizes of multifamily because of the lack of traditional financing. And usually it's like maybe a more small mom and pop investor they want to carry because they're going to defer capital gains, have income for retirement, and leave a great inheritance to their kids. That's very passive, right? It's hard work to manage a property, especially 5 to 10 units generally, but it's really easy just to collect payments on a note. So, and then for properties, I would look for people who've been on the market a long time, or you're going to want to, and they haven't sold, days on market, or they've been on and off the market because they're not getting their price. Well, you can give them their price if they give you your terms. You're going to, as an investor, you're going to need either below market price or below market terms. I mean, wouldn't you be willing to pay $1 million for a $500,000 property if you could pay $1 a month for the next, 200 years? Because right, I mean, really, you can make it cash flow. It doesn't really matter what you pay for it, right? So just depending. So I would look for people who have pain. They can't sell, they want to sell, they're waiting for their price. And, earlier on, I worked with actually a young attorney that he brought me in as a consultant on a couple of deals. And I watched him. He got He got 50-year, 3%, 3.5%, 50-year financing on a fourplex he was buying, a fiveplex, because he gave them their price, but then they gave him terms that allowed him to cash flow a couple grand a month on the property. So he doesn't even care how much he paid for it because he got it to cash flow. He had a small down payment. I think it was like 5% down, and then ridiculously low and long financing. So, or people that, tired landlords are like, I need the income, but I'm sick of this headache. So look for people who are just having to go through an eviction or something like that. So, but sellers don't usually know they will carry until someone asks them to. I mean, all my properties have been that way. The ones that I have, they weren't advertising owner will carry. I just said, hey, I'd like to buy this property. Would you be willing to be my bank? And I've had at least 5 people say yes. And that's about all the properties I can handle right now in my portfolio because they're a little higher maintenance. But anyway, I hope that helps a little bit, Susan. I really appreciate you coming on the call this morning and asking these great questions that a lot of people wonder about, so I really appreciate you coming on and spending your time for that.
Thanks, Dawn. I really appreciate that.
Okay.
I learned a lot today.
I'm really glad, Susan. Thank you. Good luck with everything. Okay, so who else is here? Let's just talk to whoever's here.
Hey, Dawn.
Yeah. Who's this?
This is David.
Hey, my David?
You're David.
David, hi.
I'm up in Tahoe waiting for you to get here.
Okay, you guys, here's my David. This is David right here, who we're talking to. How are you doing?
Okay. I just wanted to piggyback on that last discussion.
Yeah.
That I had my Nevada-based real estate company, and during the peak of the market, I got approached to sell it, and we just sat down to talk, and they said, "How much do you want?" And I said very simply, "You're going to hate my price and love my terms." And they said, "Well, what do you want?" And I gave them a number that was, almost plucked from thin air.
Right.
And I said, and I'll sell it to you for nothing down. I'll carry it for 20 years, and I want the note secured by your big office building. And they took the deal. And I think the last payment actually comes in the next couple months. And ironically, they had bought out a partner in their company around the same time, and he's still waiting to get paid. Why? Because he didn't take collateral.
That's awesome. What was, I mean, just out of curiosity, like what were the terms besides 20 years?
20 years, 8% fully amortized.
Nice. And you got your price.
They paid like clockwork right through the recession.
Wow, that's excellent. And also, why don't you just talking about small deal IRAs if people are real estate brokers or agents, right? I guess you'd have to be a broker to authorize this, right? But talk about carrying a lot of small notes. You did that. Why don't you just talk about that for a second, of real estate agents taking their commission as a note and all that?
Oh, well, as we discussed in your meetup the other day. Yeah, basically, as our real estate company, and especially being independent and not a franchise, so having control of everything, you oftentimes I had a very big buyer come in, and his question was, will you carry your commission as a note? And later I learned that was his key question to really judge whether he wanted to work with you and the kind of properties he's looking for and so on. And we put together, I would say with him, I've done 13 apartment transactions and managed a couple $1 million for him, loaning it out over the years, and stayed in his houseboat in Amsterdam. So those are the perks. But anyway, in those kind of deals, usually if it's multiple units, anything bigger than a fourplex, there's often seller financing involved. And oftentimes the seller would carry, and we would take a collateral assignment on the seller carry as our commission. So we actually got a portion of the payment as it came in, or oftentimes we got the first payments as they came in until we were paid off, and then assigned the note back to the seller. Sometimes we carried a third loan. Of course, that was in the days of first, seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths, and other total insanity. We even took gemstones as commissions. I got a hot tub as a commission. I got a boat as a commission. But the one thing I learned, and I always taught my agents, is you take care of the customer and the commission will take care of itself.
Nice.
Yeah, because I've seen too many agents put their commission in the way of putting a transaction together.
Yep.
Sorry, I have to get paid. Well, carrying a note isn't bad because number one, you're carrying it at usually the seller's interest rate. Number two is you're effectively collecting interest like an installment sale because and report it as an installment sale instead of paying tax on it up front. Right. And third, and most important, is you need the money more when you get paid off than when you did the deal in the first place.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. It's sort of like, oh, where'd that check for $5,000 come from? And so the trick is, you have to educate the broker. And the way I always did them, since I owned the company, was I let any agent take a commission via a note, and we just split the proceeds based on whatever their commission split was. There's a little bit of bookkeeping, the company got 25% or whatever of it, they got 75%, but all these little checks add up to big checks.
I mean, step and repeat. I mean, I constantly like to say, it's fun chasing big chunks of change. They do come in handy. But what changed my life was just saying, look, I just need a little more passive income this month than I had last month, and
one of the best pieces of advice I ever got early on was establish your cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, set it up so you've got enough money so you can survive and you aren't, chasing down bad deals, and so on. Just get some things under your belt. And part of that means don't quit your day job too early.
Like I did?
No guts, no glory.
Oh,
yeah, one of my favorite sayings is the definition of a big wheel. A big wheel, just a bunch of little wheels that keep on spinning. And that's really what this business is all about. Yeah, you might land a big deal now and then, but you got to keep those little ones constantly in motion.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is the side of it. I mean, I early on in my little note queen, my queendom when it was really tinier, I always thought that real estate agents would be one of my best referral sources, right? Because logically, they're in the business, they're in front of deals, they should understand owner financing, they should be able to articulate the value of an installment sale. And I spent a year I can think of funner ways to get brain damage though at this point, so it's really a rare thing, sadly, that, but I would wish, David, because you represent this, I would wish more real estate professionals could understand this side of the business, because number one, they'd be making more money like you were just so eloquently stating, and number two, they'd be serving their clients so much better.
Well, the interesting thing, and it's the sad part of the industry, is this when you go get your real estate license, California or any other state, they teach you the technicalities of real estate, and everybody knows the number 43,560.
Right.
Which is, and that's always on the test, the square footage of an acre.
Yeah.
And but then the brokers teach you sales techniques, and they have absolutely wonderful sales technique training. But when it comes to communicating with the buyer about their assets and qualifying them and trying to find what they really want to do, other than they want a big kitchen with granite, Um, agents are not very good at that in my experience. And a few of the best deals, most of the good deals I found literally were within my own real estate company, surprisingly.
Man, that's beautiful.
Well, and a few of them came from an agent who at least knew how to ask questions and discovered their clients were carrying some notes and they really wanted the cash. But most agents, I had an agent sell a $4 million house and I had no idea what his client did for a living. Had no interest in the people.
Yeah, weird.
And that goes back to that saying, we're not in the real estate business. We don't sell houses because we don't own them.
Right.
But we're in the people business. And as they say, there are no problem properties, just problem people.
I like that. And so for any real estate professional listening to this, I mean, if you want to stand out and say, hey, be that 1% of real estate agents that's worth their weight in gold, then you should come learn from David because he's firsthand experience. Because the agents, if you find one that understands owner financing and notes and is very proficient, then just never let them go. Never let them go because it's a really rare thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to share with you. I had my little nameplate, and it was 3-sided, so I could adapt it to any situation. One was my name, or I could flip it over and it said the Wizard because that's what people called me.
The Wizard.
Or I flipped it over a third time and it said somebody. Because inevitably people walk into real estate offices and say, I'd like to talk to somebody about a house.
Oh, that's great. And you just flip that over?
Yeah. So, if you got to keep laughing in the business.
If they didn't laugh, you said, I can't help you. But if they laugh, then yeah, I'll work with you.
Well, it's, but I think part of it is, and whether it's buying a note or making a loan or whatever you're doing, you've got to be able to connect with the people and understand what they're doing and where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And too many people try to jump to the conclusion too quick without really listening.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Well, thank you. I'm glad. Thanks for being on the call this morning. And I look forward to, it's just like a week from tomorrow. I'm going to have you start off and Tom, you and Tom, and with me with a little cameo there to just to set the stage. But you're going to be brilliant. You and Tom will be brilliant with starting off our beginners at 2 p.m. on Sunday. So thank you for that.
I'm looking forward to meeting Tom. I've never heard him speak it.
Yeah, I want to sit there because I know he's going to have all of these little tricks with the calculator to increase yield on stuff you're already holding. And I know I've heard him several times, but it's been a few years. So now I'm sure I could take in information on a different level. And instead of me having to go to him, he's coming to us. So isn't that lucky?
Well done. And I looked at it and I think we're going to offer you some pretty good weather.
Is it going to be all right? I hope so.
I think it's going to be in the 50s and low 60s. However, it's going to be pretty clear. Oh,
that's sweet. That's really lucky for that time.
You get to hold court in a $2.5 million condominium.
Oh, good. You mean that one right on the beach that's right next to it?
Yeah. The one you were using to store all the wine. That one, it sold last year for 2.3 roughly. Wow. And because South Lake Tahoe passed their Measure T, which is creating a ban on vacation rentals, that condominium project is exempt. So it's been one of the hottest properties in South Lake Tahoe.
Oh, wow. Well, good. I'm glad that I'm just right there with the hottest of the hot.
At least on the California side. The real money is in your state.
Yeah. I don't know why you're over there in California, David.
Because I like my house. And the famous Proposition 13 property taxes.
Yeah, I can.
And you have about, your transfer tax is about 4%, and ours is about 1/10%. The reality is that it costs X amount of money to run government, and they're going to get it from you from one place or another.
Right.
Nevada's got a lot of hidden taxes. Every real estate agent has to have a business license in Nevada. They don't in California. All those little things add up.
Well, there's been too many people coming over to Nevada to ruin it like that.
Well, build a wall.
Yeah, good point.
Right.
Good point. Right there, right by Harris.
Yeah. Since nobody's saying anything, can I say something about your conference?
Oh, sure.
Okay. And that number one is, if you need some help on Saturday, I'll be here. Number two is, and I did talk to, I think it was Christina, and she's staying at a motel across the street somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's only like
for like $35 a night or something.
Oh, 35
or something.
I thought
it's the off season. So if somebody's looking and thinking, gee, I don't want to spend that much, or I'm going to commute back and forth to Reno, they would be better off staying here, partly because they're doing a whole bunch of electrical construction between the casinos, which is slowing up traffic a bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, if you can only spend $35-40 a night at the hotel across the street, that's better than driving back and forth. It's almost your gas money.
Yeah. So just wanted to pass that along.
I didn't know. I thought it was in the 50-60 range, which is still great.
I think that's what Christina told me. So you might check in with her and see where she's saying.
Yeah, I think I've technically oversold the rooms, so I'm going to have to go in this week and make sure that sometimes they have a hidden loft or room, and see if I need to rent a whole nother one or whatever. But it's going to be a great conference. I'm really looking forward to it.
If you need another one, I'll check with my friends, because they've got a 2-bedroom and a loft. I think it is 2-minute walk from the in there, and they rent it out also.
Oh,
they're in the Vail system, but if you need something else, let me know and I'll check with them.
Okay, it sounds great.
Yeah,
perfect. Thanks a lot, David.
Okay.
All right. So Axel, has anyone else chatted or emailed in, or is it?
We have 2 of the same questions. How much are you charging for you're recording the event? They want to know how much you're going to charge for those recordings.
Well, it's really, really a stiff price, right? It's going to cost you. You have to log in here and go to this dashboard, and they're here. The last 2 years, 17 and 18, are here for free. Because you know what? What really happens, you know why I don't care about charging for these recordings, even though I have to pay Axel to be there and record it and edit it and get it up and all that, is because really information is only one small piece of, it's an important piece. I'm not saying it's not. You spend a lot of time educating yourself and learning your lessons by doing things, right? But really, the value of being at this event is the networking, because you end up doing it. It's what you get by osmosis, or there's just the fact that you're rubbing shoulders with people who are actively doing it, and then somehow your subconscious goes, if they can do it, I can do it, and then you end up investing with that whole financial friends network that Walter and Quincy created. You do business with people you know, like, and trust. And how do you get to know, like, and trust them unless you show up? So I don't care. These recordings are for free. So as soon as Axel has them ready, they're going to be here for free on my website. Right? You can access them from the dashboard of your free Note Queen account. So the thing is, my positioning in the market is I'm not actually making money teaching this. What I'm liking to do is to be an influence in the industry, a thought leader, or share ideas or encouragement accessible to more and more people, so that we're doing more and more mom and pop deals. So like my tagline is creating financial solutions, just one mom and pop to another. And unless there's enough mom and pops who are comfortable navigating this space or know how to get the resources and the support they need to put to get a deal together, then we just don't have it. Then we have all these institutions and all this wealth and power being, consolidated in a few hands. And I like to be a countermeasure to those things, that those concepts and organizations that tend to offend me. So anyhow, so I want more people to be able to play in the game. That's why there's a lot of free content here. And guess what? When I'm giving like this, then I'm positioning myself in the marketplace, and people are attracted to me. Deals are attracted to me. Investment capital is attracted to me. So it's good for my business too, obviously, right? But super fun. So that's where you can find those. It'll be all 3 years, probably by probably the end of October, wouldn't you say, Axel?
Yeah, that sounds about right. End of October, we should have them up on the site. I do have some more questions, Don.
Okay, so we got about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So let's
This comes from Michelle Lester, approaching a property owner for a seller finance deal. So let me see if we can unmute Michelle.
Yeah, I'm just curious, where I am, there's a university and there's a lot of condos that are for sale.
Mhm.
And not a lot of people can get financing on condos because nobody wants to put 30% down and pay a ridiculous interest rate, right?
Right.
Tie their money up. So, if I were thinking, well, this condo's been sitting there open for the last 2 years, maybe they'd take a seller finance deal. How would you unpack approaching maybe even an industrial owner? Have you done that, or do you have any experience with that or thoughts?
Well, here's what I'll just go through my thought process is, okay, first of all, you want to hold it long term?
I would hold it and rent it. Yeah.
Right. So then you have to figure out what are you going to bring in? What are your expenses? And so let's just do this right now for the next 5 minutes. So let's just say, what's your rent going to be coming in? Well, can you rent this to
amount college students, because it's in the college area.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that tree service guy's calling. Good grief. Okay. So yeah, what's the number? Like, how much gross rent are you gonna bring in?
I think that if it in that area, you could probably get 1,500 easily.
Okay, so
15 to 18.
All right, let's be conservative, because then you're not disappointed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then is HOA insane, or what is it? What's the HOA?
It would depend on the building, but yeah, some of them can be high, $200-$300. Some of them are $150. It depends.
Okay, so I like to go gross rent times 65%, and depending on HOA, this could be, not enough. But let's just say after, I would put 35% away for taxes, insurance, maintenance, things like that. A little more. You might want to go, okay, I'm only going to have $900 a month coming in. Okay. And now you have to go, do I want a profit, or would I be happy if my tenant paid down my rent? But for you not to come out of pocket too much, your debt service has to be $900 or less per month. So I would go, I would like to at least make $100, or at least have a little more of a buffer. Then I put this in payment. I go, my P&I, principal and interest payment to the seller, can be no more than $800. Okay, and this number could be different for different people. And so then, what's the price point? What's the price point of these properties typically when they are selling?
They're going 120 and under. You can get a decent property for 120.
Okay, so, and I'm going, most people, now you can get 0% financing. with the right person, especially if you have reputation equity or some relationship equity that you can parlay. But let's say you put 10% down, so 12,000, so you have a 90% loan. Okay, so now we know, if we know 4 of these numbers, then we can calculate the 5th. I'm just pretending to see what kind of a deal this would look like. I would, if I were, when I'm asking for terms, I want the long, I don't want a balloon. So future value, I want it to be 0. I want this to be a fully amortizing product. And I would, just for kicks and giggles, I'm going to put in 0%. Because if they get their price, maybe they'll give you your terms. I mean, why not ask? Look at that. So in, what is that? 120, 11 and a half, little over 11 years, you could own it.
Right.
It's 0%. But let's just say they want 3.5%. Okay. Then you're still I would just go, look, 180, 15-year note, fully amortized, your payment is 772. So I would back my way into that of like, okay, how much do I want to put down? And how much can I afford per month and still make a win-win scenario for someone? So does that give you any ideas of where to start?
Absolutely. Yeah. I see how you're backing into the numbers that way. Definitely. So in terms of just somebody who successfully approached, I'm assuming it was a property that was for sale, or was it just, hey, I saw that and I went and talked to the owner and talked them into letting me take it over. How did you approach that? In the cases, actually, mine were off-market properties. Now that I think about it, they contacted me through websites or were referred to me, or I did. In one case, like my duplex was a direct mail, but they were all off-market properties, but motivated sellers. But you know what? Someone who's been on the market for a long time and it's not selling, their listing expired, they might be more motivated than the average person, right? Or where your point of opportunity is where institutional financing is falling apart. So you can, it wouldn't hurt for you to do a small mailer to those condo units that you're interested in. Right. Even if they don't think they want to sell, they might get your letter and go. You can just mail every owner in those condo units that you think you might be interested in and just see what happens. And already you'll know your numbers. Here's the most I can put down. Here's the most I can, because I want it to carry itself. In 15 years, I want 10 free and clear condos, and let your tenants pay down all these loans. And in the meantime, they pretty much carry themselves. So does that make sense? Absolutely. Yeah. I just put money into a house instead. And now I'm like, wow, I wish I'd found this website sooner.
Yeah. So anyway, well, thank you for asking that question. I think that's fabulous. And I wish you the best. I hope you get 1 or 2 or however many you want. But I think it's a really sensible offer for someone who doesn't want their property anymore, or they'd rather have interest payments and not be a landlord. And then, so there's some win-wins to be had there. So good luck with that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we are at the top of the hour. So I just want to remind you to use your powers for good and to go out there and create financial solutions from one mom and pop to another. I will catch you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Virtual Coffee with Dawn Rickabaugh. For more, please visit notequeen.com.